Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi friends. When my kid said like this, "What about we die, ma'am?" Then I was getting upset. Don't say like that. Don't say the word death. For us and for some culture, we used to avoid talking directly about uncomfortable topic, right? Yes, such as the word death. Instead of saying the word death, we tend to use the word pass away, deceased, departed, sleeping, slipped away, resting in peace, at rest. So when we use the words to avoid directly addressing subjects that might be deemed negative or embarrassing or taboo topics like death, sex, excretory bodily function, this is what we call by euphemisms. So a euphemism is a polite expression used in place of words or phrases that might otherwise be considered harsh or unpleasant. It is used to avoid offending or upsetting someone or to avoid talking directly about uncomfortable topic. Well, let's see what is euphemisms given by experts. Euphemisms comes from the Greek word euphemismos. It is a compound of eu means good or well, and then euphemisms means speech. We can say euphemisms as speaking with good words. According to Allen and Burrich, 1991, a euphemism is an expression intended by the speaker to be less offensive, disturbing, or troubling to the listener than the word or phrase it replaces. In real life, when people meet with some unpleasant thing or behaviors, they usually choose some vague expression to avoid making bold or hurting others' feelings. Thus, they choose to use euphemisms. It softens the effect of what they really wish to communicate, avoiding as much as possible offense and conflict. Then from the Oxford Companion to the English Language, 1992, euphemisms is a word or phrase used as polite replacement for another, which is considered too vulgar, too painful, or offensive to religious susceptibilities. In addition, Franklin and Ruthman, 1993, define euphemisms as a word or phrase that replaces a taboo word or serves to avoid frightening or unpleasant subjects. Taboo is a word that cannot be used or the least used thing considered being taboo in polite society. People tend to avoid the taboo topic or areas like sex, death, social status, social occupation, and others. In this way, people use euphemisms for avoiding unpleasant situations resulting from the use of taboo. Now let's see the categories of euphemisms by Fujita, 2008. Fujita divided types of euphemisms into two categories. First, positive euphemisms, and the second, negative euphemisms. These two types of euphemisms derive from the impact and rate of politeness. Positive euphemisms is added a pleasant feeling and make the euphemistic items seem more important than they actually are. For example, territory manager instead of salesman. Meanwhile, negative euphemisms is deflated and diminish the meaning of euphemistic items, make them less pleasant or neutral. For example, the negative one, relationship for sexual relationship. And then the categories of euphemisms according to Allen and Burrich. They divided types of euphemisms into several categories. They are metaphor, idiom, circumlocutions, general for specific, hyperbole, lithotest, denial, metonymy, technical jargon, synecdoches. Now let's see, the first type is metaphor. It indicates something different from the literal meaning. For example, she is an old bag means she is an attractive old woman. And then it is used in the right context. In this context, metaphor is not a device of poetic imagination, but it is used as an ordinary language. Metaphor is persuasive in everyday life, not just in language, but also in thought and action. Metaphor makes an implied comparison between two unlike elements having at least one quality or characteristic in common. To be euphemistic, we can also compare an unpleasant wine to the pleasant or less unpleasant wine. The second type is idioms, an expression functioning as a single unit whose meaning cannot be worked out from its separate part. Many idioms are euphemistic when they deal with unpleasant things. For example, kick the bucket means die. Not all of the idioms are used as euphemisms for things we feel uncomfortable speaking of directly. And the third one is circumlocutions, saying in many words what may be said in few words. For example, little girl rooms means toilet. Categorical inaccuracy means lie. Then let's see, the another one is general for specific, and one-for-one substitutions. There are various subclasses of general for specific, the euphemism just mentioned in whole full part. For example, spend a penny means go to the lavatory. And the next hyperbole. Hyperbole that use exaggerated statement made for effect not intended to be taken literally. Hyperbole or overstatement is also found in euphemisms like flight to glory means death. The next type is lithotest. Lithotest are statements that use a negative form to express the contrary. For example, it was not an easy matter. It means it was very difficult. In addition, there is another kind of euphemistic understatement like sleeps mean die. Lithotest refers to the expression in restrained language. It is an avoidance of explicit emphasis. So when people are not willing to completely show their feelings, ideas, or attitudes, they tend to use it to avoid absoluteness and achieve politeness. The next type is denial, a statement or proposition used by someone trying to distinguish the true meaning, such as they are not seriously seeing each other. Seeing here means that become euphemisms for what was once called a love affair. The next type is metonymy, which refers to the naming only a part, such as the inventor of the owner, since the meaning is closely related. For example, he reads Andrea Hirata. Andrea Hirata refers to the author of some novels, and the meaning is actually he reads Andrea Hirata's novel. And then technical jargon. Instead of common terms, and some technical jargon is either borrowed from another language. Alan and Barrage further states that most language seems to have some euphemisms based on borrowed words or morphemes. For example, in American English, diabetes means to go a lot is borrowed from Greek. Using words borrowed from other language to function of euphemisms is characteristic of many languages. The last type of euphemism is synecdoches. Synecdoches means general to specific. For example, some people vote Democrat in general election. Democrats here refers to the certain party that follows in general election, or and specific to general. For example, being democratic country is not only in the hands of government, but also people who live in the society. In the hands here means they're responsible of the government. Now let's see the function of euphemisms. Allen 2006 proposed that there are two main reasons and functions for using euphemisms. First is to replace taboo words, and second, to conceal unpleasant facts to avoid offense. Meanwhile, the function of euphemisms can be classified according to the way in which they contribute to the context. Like Mazidah said, 2007, there are four functions of euphemisms. The first conveys new information. Second, conveys writers' opinions. The third one conveys writer attitudes toward the true value. And the last function as discourse signal. Now let's see the feature of euphemisms, localizations. Various regions have difference in custom, culture, history, which embody the localization of languages. There are two causes of regional differences. First is a regional cultural difference. In different regions, the culture there will affect the development of euphemisms. For example, go to water closet. In the Balliol College of Oxford University, students call go to toilet as to visit Lady Perium, because the toilet of the college were built on the land donated by Lady Perium. Of course, the Americans will not agree with this expression. The second one is the difference of geographic environment. For example, in seaside, death would be connected with sea and tide, and they may use go with the tide to express death. On the contrary, in American West Mountain areas, the euphemisms for die is gone over the range, or to cross the Great Divide. These are the typical of regional euphemisms. Now let's see the example of study in euphemisms under the title Euphemisms Used by Men and Women in Indonesia Liars Club TV Wine Show, A Language and Gender Perspective. The authors are Messi Fitrani, Hermawati Sarif, and Delvi Wahyuni in 2019. They studied about the types and function of euphemisms used by men and women in Indonesia Liars Club television wine show. The result here that there were 72 utterances contains euphemistic expressions, 30 utterances delivered by men, and 39 remarks spoken by women. Researchers also found that 9 types of euphemisms, namely metaphor, hyperbole, circumlocutions, initialisms, jargon, figurative expression, understatement, colloquial, and hypernym. And then the researcher also found 5 functions of euphemism in this show. Euphemism as doublespeaks, as a seal to avoid taboo and offense, as uplifting tool, to show solidarity or define certain group, and to entertain. The conclusion here, the gender differences cause different linguistic phenomena because the language pattern of men and women are influenced by their surrounding, their status, education, and other social aspects which then reflected in their linguistic style. Well, that's all for my explanation about euphemisms. Thank you.